Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 85, NBA season dwindling down. It's about a week going on the play-in, starting right after that on the 16th, recording on the 9th. So a week away from the play-in, exactly. Got the East play-in kind of still up in the air as the West, at least when it comes to those top teams, the 6, 7, 8 seeds trying to fight for that last playoff spot. But I was looking at some scenarios. I mean, these teams in the play-in could still finish third or fourth in their respected conferences. So we're going to take it off. We're going to start off with Hot or Not this week. Got some fired up for this week. I'll go ahead and start you off with one. Hot or not, the 76ers are dangerous playoff lurkers in the East.
That's not a hot take, especially, the big question mark there is Embiid's health. Him coming back, against what it looked like all odds, being, 7-footed, 300 pounds. That's tough, man. A torn meniscus, that's something really, really tough to come back. But Joel Embiid, we talked about a couple episodes ago, looked like he was back in the practice facility, and he's, been back on the court. I think he's played 2 or 3 games since we started recording. So, yeah, if Embiid's back on the court and he's healthy, Maxey, look, he's been banged up, but it looks like he's getting back in the groove with Embiid back on the court. Had a really big game against the Heat, and then I think he had a 50 or 40-point game against the Spurs not too long ago as well. So Maxey's starting to heat up, and once you add somebody like Joel Embiid, an MVP caliber player, to pretty much any roster, like, they're going to be contenders. So I would definitely say, looking at those matchups, the 2 seed right now, I believe the Bucks, the Bucks and the Magic right there, the 2 and 3 seed. I mean, if the Bucks get the 76ers in that first round matchup, that could definitely be, a scary series for the Bucks, especially because going into this year, that'd be, some people saying that could be a possible Eastern Conference Finals matchup where you get to see both of those teams in round one. Yeah, it could definitely be scary. So, I mean, if Embiid and Maxey are able to stay healthy and they're able to continue their high level of play, I definitely think they're scary for any team, not even in the East, but just in the playoffs in general.
No doubt. Hot or not, in the West, we will see a Braun versus Curry matchup in the play-in. So right now they're sitting at 10 and 11, 9.5 games technically back. Are the Lakers? They're half a game back on that 8 seed, and they just.
So I think right now I think the Warriors will play the Kings, and if they beat the Kings, I think they will play the Lakers in LA. Is that it?
Yeah, it would be Pelicans, Warriors.
Oh, Pelicans, Warriors.
Kings,
okay.
Lakers.
Okay.
I mean, the Lakers could still jump up to that 7 seed and then end up playing the Warriors. Likewise, kind of for the Warriors technically could go up into the rankings regardless, but that's how it's looking right now.
Yeah, that's not a hot take, but what I will say is I think only one of them will make the playoffs. So I don't think both of them get in, especially the way the seeding and stuff is now. And then you look at the other teams that you mentioned, Pelicans, they get Brandon Ingram back. They've been playing really solid basketball. Zion's looking good. But, yeah, I do think the Lakers and Warriors will match up in the play-in, and that'll be a really fun play-in game. And I believe the Lakers will have the home court advantage, and I would have to lean Lakers in that one. So I'm going to say that's not a hot take, and I got the Lakers in over the Warriors. Although the Warriors have been playing really good basketball as of late, too, and they're already starting the Curry rest, making sure he's healthy for the play-in. So,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
I'm tripping. It'd be Lakers Warriors right now. I forgot how the play-in works for a second, but it'd be Lakers Warriors right now, and then Pelicans and Kings would match up. So I mean, technically, both of them couldn't make the playoffs, as long as if the standings stayed the same.
The same, yeah.
One of them gets bounced.
So I would be Lakers at home.
You going Lakers
at home? Yeah.
Yeah, they are at home.
Yeah, size advantage, and they've seemed to have the Warriors' numbers these past couple seasons, just because the size difference, and the Warriors don't really have too many people to throw at AD. We saw last year in the playoffs, and Braun kind of going down low, playing that bully ball. You throw Rui on the court. They got a bunch of guys with some size and a bunch of athletes that can run, whereas the Warriors, I mean, if Curry's not on fire, now you got Kuminga, who's definitely stepped up and fits more of that athletic, bigger wing role. But outside of that, Trace Jackson Davis, he has some size. Once again, he's a rookie. Looney is a shell of himself. Draymond's been an undersized center his entire career. So, yeah, I would go Warriors. I meant Lakers at home in that matchup.
I'm going to switch up my last hot or not. I was thinking about this one when I saw something the other day. Hot or not, this is the last season we will see Curry, Clay, and Draymond in Golden State all together.
That's not a hot take, and I kind of touched on this last episode when we were talking about the Warriors and, you know, kind of their future, how they have things going right now. And I would say Clay would be the one to move in the offseason. And, you know, Draymond just signed that extension last offseason, so he's kind of locked down. And then Curry is basically, you know, the face of that franchise, pretty much made them relevant in the modern NBA. So you're not moving off Curry. Clay's the only odd man out. Like I mentioned, his plays declined a little bit, you know, going from 6-man Clay to back in rotation, in and out. And it seems like they, you know, tried their best to draft some young guys to kind of not replace Clay, but have some guys step in his shoes. We've talked about Podziemski. We like him. Kuminga stepped up. So they got some young guys that can try to play similar roles. They have Moody, another young guy, develop, give them some size at the guard. But, yeah, it just all depends on what Clay wants to do. And I saw a quote saying that he would – I think I just saw it like earlier today. He's saying that he would like to stay in Golden State. But, I mean, at this point if in his career, he has to do what's best for him. And obviously at this point in his career, he's done everything. So the best thing for him would just be make as much money as possible. I mean, you have the championships, you have the wins, everything in terms of on the court, they pretty much accomplished it together as the Warriors. So if Clay wants to seek that big or max contract, or not max, because I don't know who's giving Klay Thompson a nice contract at this point, but, you know, more money than the Warriors can offer him, then I definitely think he looks to get paid somewhere else. And if you're the Warriors, it might just be the best thing to do, you know, go out on good terms. You guys both agree. Clay, you know, did his part, gave his services, and was a vital piece. Some would say the second most important piece to that Warriors roster in their little run. But, yeah, if Clay wants to take a pay cut and stay with the Warriors, then that could definitely happen. But if he wants to get paid, wants that, you know, close to max or as much money as he possibly could get, I definitely think Clay's the one to leave, and he tests that open market and see what's out there.
Yeah, I saw the Magic, you know, could be overpaying for Clay this offseason as a report, saying that they do need shooters, floor spacing, so it kind of brought it back up to mind. But those are my hot or not for this week. All
right. Start you off. Hot or not, Anthony Edwards can carry the Wolves to a deep playoff run by himself.
I'm going to say that is just a bit of a hot take considering they're in the West, but that I would not be shocked. I mean, Ant could definitely do it. Playoff matchups are tough right now. I think they're the 1 seed as of right now, and as we mentioned, if the Lakers come out as the 8 seed in the playoffs or the Warriors, I mean, that's not an easy first round matchup. And you say you get by that first series, then you go on to that second series beat up. You're playing another competitive team, whether, you know, the Pelicans, the Mavs, the Suns, whatever team it is in the West that you end up playing in that second round, it'd still be a tough matchup. So I think they could win 1 round. That second round would be tough, but I did see, you know, things with Cat coming back, progressing, possibly making a comeback for the postseason. Still no official timetable for return, but he's looking pretty good, and the T-Wolves are in high hopes to kind of get their big man back, pair him up with Ant, and then they could be a dangerous playoff lurker. I mean, as a not really surprised considering they were 1 seed, but compared to all the powerhouses in the West, they could definitely make a run if they get Cat back healthy.
All right. And you'll like this one. Hot or not, the Boston Celtics can go on a dominant playoff run like the 17 Warriors and reach the finals with losing one playoff game.
That's a hot take. I mean, we just sat here pregame, and you said we were talking about Nate Robinson came out and said he wants to pick the Celtics out the East, but he can't because they don't have any dogs. And I mean, how many years have I said this? Jason Tatum, he's a great player. We talked about discussion. Is he elite at anything? All that to the side. You got Jaylen Brown. These guys are both, they could be vocal leaders, but they don't show that dog Nate Robinson was talking about. There's just nothing to them. They don't play with, like, any type of heart. And you know that's how I feel. You got to have heart in the playoffs. They got a great team, great addition in KP. Derek White, you know, his emergence over the past couple seasons, phenomenal for the Celtics. Sam Hauser stepping up, making buckets, shooting threes, spreading the floor. They got all the right pieces. They're just missing a true leader, and a very cut and dry true leader to lead. I think they could benefit off a Pat Bev type player, just someone vocal, someone to get a fire in it. First off, one loss is crazy. The Celtics will lose games, so comparing them to the Warriors, that's if they won a championship, I'd be shocked. So that Warriors run, that's, I don't know where you pulled that one from, but
so you're saying they're just missing a player like maybe like a Marcus Smart?
Yeah, but like that is bad. Let me take back what I say, because Marcus Smart, he had some games where he was a killer, but
yeah, he almost single-handedly lost them the 76ers.
Yeah, exactly. There's just you can't be an alpha generational talent in Jason Tatum, and playoffs come around and you end up selling in the playoffs every time. I know they got to the finals, Eastern Conference with the Heat. But it just hasn't clicked for the Celtics. I come on every week and kind of shit on them. So it is what it is with the Celtics. I'm not a buyer. I'm not believing. Even in the East, where talent looks and teams just look so shaky, you really don't know who could make a run. Like the Knicks, you're looking missing. You got Brunson, you're missing some pieces. You get OG back, cool. The Cavs have been on a steady decline since the half point of the season. Got the Pacers with Halliburton, who's been shaky. You got the Orlando Magic, unproven, not really shooters around the court. As I mentioned, they're looking at Clay. The Bucks, steady decline. They've lost 4 in a row. So you're kind of looking at the East, and it's really up for grabs, and anyone's taking it. If the Celtics can't do it this year, I don't know if they'll be able to any year. So
yeah, that's why I thought of that, because if you look at, the East, and let's just say the Celtics are able to, avoid a 76ers with a healthy Embiid and Maxey, or maybe they're not as healthy, and, the Heat, they get knocked off earlier in the playoffs and they don't see the Celtics. The Celtics could pretty much cruise to the conference finals if everything goes as planned.
On paper, they should.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, because the Heat, we all know the history between those teams. So that'd be if I'm a Boston Celtics fan or on the Celtics, that's like the one team I don't want to play. So, and even now, the Atlanta Hawks, even going back to last season where, Trae Young had the one big
Young's
game.
lurking back in them.
Yeah, and then this season you lose to him back-to-back. DeJounte Murray has a big game, so maybe the Hawks are a team they don't want to avoid. But, I mean, when you mentioned it, you look at the Cavs, the Pacers, even the Bucks, like outside of Giannis, they don't really have anything else going for him. Dame has been up and down. One game he can look like, old Dame time, and then the next game you're like, oh wait, Damian Lillard was playing. Like it's just up and down for him, especially at this point in his career. So yeah, if the things line up right for the Celtics, I can definitely see them cruising to the finals. But like you mentioned, man, it's more to basketball than just what's on the paper. You got to go out there you got to play. And there's a bunch of different factors, so I agree with you. Yeah, at this point, you got to see it from the Celtics.
Yeah, I'd like to see Trae Young get back and put a run on the money for the Celtics. That'd be.
I saw that
cool.
he might be able to come back or something.
He was practicing.
Yeah.
Cleared to practice, something like that. Regardless, I mean, Trae Young always a threat. You pair him up with DeJounte.
Eastern Conference Finals run.
I mean, he's had some good runs.
Yeah.
In his career. It's just the Hawks. I mean, there's really no supporting cast outside. They've done, a decent job, but...
Well, I think that it's just, that experiment with him and Murray is kind of...
Yeah.
It's run its course.
You got two ball handlers on the same team. I never understood the acquisition of DeJounte and Trae. Like, when DeJounte came in, I thought they were going to move off of Trae, but regardless of the situation, it really hasn't panned out. With the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram, still no timetable for his return. That was your last hot or not, right?
Those are the two, yeah.
Okay. No timetable for BI and the Pels, who they're sitting at that 7th seed, fighting for that 6th seed with the Phoenix Suns. And the Suns, KD and Book, I mean, they're trying to propel this team to the playoffs. Bradley Beal still kind of nowhere to be found with his
That's one way to put it.
Injuries all year. So it's really down to the big two, the same two that, ran it last year. Trying to take a look at Bradley Beal.
I think he's only played like 35, 36 some games like that this year.
Yeah, nothing the Suns actually wanted. When they brought in his big three, it was strictly for playoff time, so should be interesting. So I'm looking at highest versus lowest possible finishes for both the East and the West. Came out this morning. So Milwaukee, who's sitting at the 2 seed in the East, they could drop all the way down to 6. Like, this is how, same thing with Orlando, they could go from 2 to 8, and then you go to New York, Cleveland, Indiana, all could finish the same. The Sixers could get up to the 3. Same thing with the Heat, could go up to the 3 and finish as the 8 seed in the East. So it's really a lot that could happen. It'd take a lot for these teams to move up that much or go down that much, but regardless of the fact, I want to touch on the Heat real quick in that Pacers game where the refs came out and said that they sold the Heat on those last 2 calls. The Hero 3 wasn't called a foul, and then the Bam strip, which they called a foul, resulted in 2 free throws on the other end regardless. And then you look at the West, it really starts with the Clippers. Could be a 2 or a 7 seed. They could be in the play-in. Mavs 4 to 8. You got the Suns, who could be 4 to 10. Same thing with the Pelicans, and then the list goes on. Sacramento 5 to 10, Lakers 6 to 10, Golden State. Same thing as the Lake Show, but I mean, do you think these plans are kind of set with what we have right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's already today's Tuesday, so there's only a couple of days left of actually playing
I know the
basketball.
Heat got 3 games left.
Yeah, so I mean, you might see
4.
You might see a couple, positions slide up and down here or there, but I think for the most part, teams kind of are pretty much locked into where they're at, and they kind of know what's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, the Heat gonna need some help in the East. I know that for a fact. Their playing game would be against the Sixers right now. Don't like that matchup whatsoever. I was looking at biggest plus minuses last week. My favorite thing to look at on these power rankings. You're never going to guess it, so I'm just going to give you the biggest plus minus was Paul Reed of the Philadelphia 76ers, plus 58 in 4 games. And then the worst, Javon Freeman, Liberty of the Raptors, had a minus 77 in 4 games. So, and obviously Sixers, they won 4 in a row. Embiid back in Milwaukee, 0-4 to not so great teams. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on with Milwaukee, man. It's like it's just they don't have anything outside of Giannis. Like I kind of touched on, you're not getting consistent Dame, and then losing someone like Drew Holiday that'll definitely hurt your defense in terms of him being one of the best perimeter defenders and gives you some versatility. That way you can have guys like Giannis and Brook Lopez roaming in the paint, knowing that they got, a really solid perimeter guard in front of them. So yeah, Middleton's been playing okay as of late, but injuries, trying to get him back fully healthy, that's always the issue. Brook Lopez, like I mentioned, his plays declined a bit, especially on the defensive end. So, yeah, I think the Bucks could be, in bounce watch. Like round one, back-to-back years, the Bucks getting bounced in round one would not be a good look, especially for Giannis and that organization. And I think, you start to question how long does Giannis have in Milwaukee, especially if they lose round one 2 years in a row consecutively.
Well, I just find it bad. I mean, they fired Adrian Griffin beginning of the season, and then they signed Doc Rivers, and even Doc was kind of shocked that he got picked up, especially with the Bucks. I think they were sitting at the 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
They were closer to the Celtics than they are now, obviously. But
it started when they fired Budenholzer during the offseason.
Yeah.
When at a time when he got fired 2 years ago, they were just in the finals and he kind of just got rid of him because Giannis was kind of over it. So
regardless of what it was, if Giannis wanted Griffin out, bring in Doc, that just hasn't worked out. The record with Doc is way worse than it was with Adrian Griffin, regardless of the fact, if they do bounce, I don't think Giannis is up in question, but I think the roster around him is definitely in question. Does he want to leave Milwaukee?
I think the roster's already in question.
Oh, yeah. It is, obviously, but I'm saying it would propel the fire sale of everybody around Giannis, and then obviously anybody but Thanasis. Regardless of the fact, Milwaukee, they're in some trouble, and if they end up that 2 seed playing a 7 seed, Sixers, Heat,
bro, I might take the Sixers over them, bro.
Oh, I would too at this point. You get Maxey, they don't have a guard to really keep up with him.
Maxey will just have free will, bro.
Yeah, and then Embiid, you slow down the offense. I would not be shocked. You need Portland Dame to come back, waving off PG Dame.
Patrick Beverly with a torn ligament in his hand, running around trying to guard Maxey. That's what we're gonna see.
Is he playing still?
I think so. He was on his podcast talking he's gotta play through it, man. Job not finished. Pat Bev giving that classic, just dog mentality, man. Scrappy, hardworking.
See, Marcus Smart doesn't have that though. You know what I'm saying? He's scrappy, bro, but he's not Pat Bev scrappy.
I don't think anyone is.
Exactly. That's what the Celtics could use, man. But they put the Week 25 team to watch, the Orlando Magic. They haven't won more than one playoff game in 13 years. So I'm gonna ask you: do you think they get more than one playoff win here in 2024?
Yes, and their one playoff win, I will always remember.
I think it was a play.
Nope, it was round one against the Raptors, 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
when the Raptors won the
finals.
The finals, yeah. So, yeah, that was FGCU days, man. Shout out AMAC, all them boys. Had me rocking the Vooch jersey, man.
It was. I remember that too, man, because I was literally in Orlando. They're not much of a basketball city, so.
But yeah, the way this Magic's roster has come a long way. When you look at what they have and stuff, if it isn't, this season, which I don't think it is, and maybe not next season, the next couple 3-4 years, I think they're definitely set to be, at least try to be, or, become contenders in the East, looking at, the top couple seeds during the regular season. Because when you look at their roster, they just have, things that you need to go deep in the playoffs. you look at Paulo. I mean, he's shown that he could be a number one on a given roster any night. Can be a number one for a playoff contender team. His ability to score the ball, pass the ball, his size really brings a lot. And then Franz Wagner, someone who also brings a bunch of size. I think he's like 6'10", one of those big point forwards who can play, make, ball handle, has a decent shot, can shoot the ball. And then his brother adds some nice size. Another big man. They have Wendell Carter when he's healthy. And then they got that guy where, you know, you look at all these playoff teams, you know, we're just joking about Patrick Beverly, but those guys are vital when you look at, you know, in terms of trying to compete. You know, the Bucks had Drew Holiday. The Warriors had Draymond Green play this role, and I think that's Jalen Suggs for the Magic. You know, one of those defenders that are scrappy. He's one of those guys that can just he does all the little things, fights for the loose balls, gives 100% effort. And then on the offensive end, you know, he can initiate a little bit of offense, but he'll hit the open shot as well. His game's really progressed, but you need guys like those if you want to win, if you want to compete. You know, Aaron Gordon last year for the Nuggets, he was big for them in terms of, you know, guarding a bunch of different players, picking up, you know, maybe the toughest assignment on defense, and then still being able to come through and hit those big shots. So I think Jalen Suggs can definitely develop into one of those key players on a championship team where they might not be, well, they won't be like the first, second, or the third best player, but maybe that fourth or fifth guy in the rotation when you need a big play, when you need someone to step up and, you know, maybe get a big steal or foul or at the right time, or just making, you know, a really good basketball play. I think Jalen Suggs can step in. And then you just mentioned this offseason, the Magic have a bunch of cap space. So if they go out and sign someone maybe like a Klay Thompson, or I don't know, what if Donovan Mitchell isn't happy in the Cavs and they can offer him enough money to just bring in more offensive power. And I know the Magic aren't really like a destination for free agents or trade partners, but this team is super young and they got a bunch of talent. They got some depth. Not even to mention Jonathan Isaac, who's like, he just comes in for like 7, 8 minutes and just locks down people like defensively. He's back healthy, maybe not to what he was, you know, pre-injury, but he definitely comes in and just like completely erases a defender for a solid couple of minutes. So defensively, I think they're definitely there. They're just going to have to develop that offense a little bit, and I like some of the key players they have on that roster to, you know, kind of make a playoff run. So maybe they add a couple more pieces, 1 or 2 more pieces, but I think right now that core and that base is definitely good enough for the Magic in the next couple of years to be, you know, real contenders.
Orlando is not a destination, but hey, the city's not bad. I'm not sitting here. I'm not a Magic fan at all, but not a bad city. They play in the heart of downtown Orlando. You could get a lot of nice crib out there for a lot of space. You can get out there out west, no town, but yeah, man, it should be. I don't know what's wrong with the Magic and why they can't get free agents into the city. I don't know. Not bad. I'll tell you what, bro. I'd rather live in Orlando than like Portland or Milwaukee or.
Well, those teams aren't getting any free agents either. So.
Well, they got Dame and they got Giannis.
Well, they drafted Dame and Giannis. So. It's not like they chose to go there.
A lot of teams. Charlotte. I mean, I'm not sure what's out there in Charlotte, but no one wants to go there anyways. Big games this week to watch. There's a list of games, and I think there's 4 of them tonight with big playoff implications. Celtics Bucks tonight at 7:30. So we're kind of getting that matchup, the 1-2 punch in the East. Kings versus Thunder. You know, Kings scrapping in that play-in position, early playoff position. Warriors Lakers.
That's a big one.
Possible play-in matchup. Clippers and Suns tonight as well. So you got those 4 games just tonight. And then tomorrow you got Magic versus Bucks. Just talked about the Magic and what they could do. T-Wolves Nuggets tomorrow at 10.
Oh,
another
possible,
great one.
You know, push for that 1 seed.
Push for that 1 seed. Can Ant get it done? Is this maybe a little bit of a preview of what we'll see in the playoffs from Ant? Thursday, Knicks Celtics. Talked about, you know, the Celtics being shaky. The Knicks, could they be a team possibly knock off the Celtics in the playoffs? With the addition of OG, you know, you could get him to guard Tatum on the perimeter. And then you get JB. He's one of the best in the league at scoring, so could be could be something to watch. Pelicans Kings. Once again, the Kings are in the mix, and the Pelicans fighting to stay out of that play-in. Pelicans Warriors on Friday, followed by Suns and Kings. Once again, another matchup with the Suns. So you got those, I'm not sure, 10 games or whatever it was, within the span of just Friday. From Tuesday to Friday, you got all these matchups. Big playoff implications, big games. Did any specific one catch your...
I think with all these games, you also need to take them with a grain of salt, because you're going to have you're going to have the veteran teams, like, I think, looking at the Nuggets especially, whereas we know what the Nuggets are. The Nuggets know what they're capable of. They just want to make it into the playoffs, get those guys fully rested, and then handle business from there. I think the Clippers are another team, especially with all those guys on the roster. You look at the mileage, Harden, PG, Kawhi, all of those guys and their injury history, they just kind of want to get into the playoffs healthy. I think the Suns are another team like that with their big three. They just want to get in healthy. But I think when you look at the teams that are kind of a little lower, that's where it gets interesting. When you mentioned, I think that Warriors-Lakers matchup, that's going to be a really good one. I mean, everyone's going to have to play for that, because that has, like, real implications into whether do they make the playoffs or not. Like, that's serious. The Kings are definitely going to be in the mix. I mean, they got some injuries too that's definitely hurting them. But the Pelicans, I think these are all the teams that are going to be trying to play their best basketball right now, so they can enter the play-in tournament, enter the playoffs hot. Whereas, teams that already have the kind of better records, when you look at the Timberwolves, when you look at the Nuggets, like I just mentioned, even the Celtics, who have like a 13-game lead on the second spot. So yeah, maybe you don't see everyone from Boston suit up. They just kind of want to, get to the playoffs fully healthy. So I think the better games and the better matchups are definitely going to come for those 7 to 8 seed matchups, those lower seeds at 10 seed, 9 seed, those teams that matching up to where they might see each other within the next week, and they both want to be playing their best basketball to kind of, the only shot they have at winning anything real is if they got hot and they're playing their best basketball from here on out. Whereas these other teams, they just want to get to the playoffs and then start playing their best basketball when it really matters, and so they're fully healthy. So yeah, I mean, that Lakers-Warriors game is probably, that's going to be a fun one. It's always with the big names and stuff. So definitely say that one.
Yeah. Bucks 15-17 since Doc Rivers took over, so you're probably going to want to see it. Drew Holiday, you'll see the matchup against the Bucks. It's in Milwaukee, so Boston's already up 2-1 in the season series between those two teams. In the East, Warriors-Lakers definitely tonight. I think Clippers and Suns, they're going to be playing tonight, because both these teams needed. Clippers could fall, as well as the Suns. The Suns a little closer than the Clippers. They kind of do or die with that 6th seed. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be in that play-in game. They want to get those extra days rest. Would you rather have them now, or would you rather have them later? Knicks Celtics, I think that's where the Celtics start sitting people on Thursday. There's no reason. You mentioned 13-game lead. What's the point? But those are some key matchups. I know the Heat, they got the Hawks tonight, and then the Raptors twice, I think, both at home. Oh, you got Hawks, Mavericks, and then Raptors at home twice. They have the second easiest remaining schedule left. If they can make a push and get that 6th seed from the Pacers, with the Pacers, by the graces of the refs, winning against the Heat. They also play the Raptors, Cavs, Hawks. It's only 3 games left for the Pacers. Looks like the Heat are kind of set into that play-in right now, but regardless, the Heat, Jimmy said we did it last year, we're going to do it again. Now I just think he's just doing a little too much talking just out of nowhere. But regardless, you got any more topics, takes?
No, that's pretty much it. NBA playoffs right around the corner, man.
Yeah, right around the corner. I believe the last day of the regular season is Sunday. So, last regular season games on Sunday. Goal to Go episode 85. Goal to Go Pod on TikTok. Goal to Go YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. And until next week, we'll be back with another episode, man. Peace.